Welcome back to my new video. This is my second video on OpenAI function calling. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to give you a real world demo of how you can use this functionality, this new functionality by OpenAI. Okay, so let's jump right into the IDE. I have this folder. I'm going to create another subfolder, which I'm going to call weather. And under weather, I'm going to create another folder called templates. And I'm going to add a Python file called app.py. And the next one I'm going to add is utils.py. Okay, and also inside the template folder, I'm going to create another one called index.html. Okay, so that is our folder structure. And inside the utils, I'm going to paste lines of code, and then I'm going to explain because the code is very long. I don't want to type everything. So the next file I want to add is .env, which is going to contain our credentials. Okay. So I'm going to paste this in here, but I'm not going to show it to you. I'll be checking the code to GitHub. If you want to clone it, you can clone it and put in your credentials in there and run the code. Okay, so I'm going to close this for now. And I'm going to start with the utils.py file, and then the index.html, and finally app.py. Okay, so in the utils, I'm going to import. So these are the import. Okay, so JSON OS OpenAI request dot env. If you don't have it installed, you can have it installed. Also, the OpenAI. If you don't have it installed, you can do pip install OpenAI. And then I'm loading that function load .env, and then I'm using the os.getEnv, and then this is going to be the key inside. So it's going to be like this, and then I'll pass in the OpenAI API key in there. Well, the next thing I'm going to paste is a dummy function or a template. So this is the template, okay, and it's just a regular Python function which takes a location and then the unit, and then we create a dictionary out of it, and then we dump it as a string. Okay, we dump this dictionary as a string. Okay, so the description is get the current weather in a given location, and then we are retrieving the location and then the unit. Okay, so this is just a basic function that will be passing to the chat completion API endpoint. The next thing I'm going to pass is I have a user defined function that I'm calling get weather. And as you can see, it's called get weather, and it takes the API key and then the city. Okay, so this is are the parameters that I'm passing to this endpoint. Open weather map. If you don't have an account, you can go to this link and create an account to get your API key. And then we are passing in the city, the API key, and then the unit. Okay, so you can also pass metrics. Okay, metrics. If you want the output to be in Celsius, you pass in metrics, and if you want Fahrenheit, you pass in imperial. So this information you can get it from the Open Weather Map website. So I'm interested in the imperial, which is the Fahrenheit. Okay, and this is going to get the URL and then the params. And then if there are some errors, this is going to handle it. And then it returns a JSON. And then once we get that JSON, we can extract the temperature, weather description, and then humidity from it. And then we return this dictionary. We can return it as a JSONify. If you are familiar with Flask, you should be familiar with something like that. But I'm returning a dictionary and then handling the exception. Okay, that is all for that function. So this is our internal endpoint or function. Okay, so this one, we are going to pass it to the function calling. Okay, I'm going to define a last function, which I'm calling find location. Let me paste this under it and then explain what is going on. Okay, so this is called find location, and then we are taking the location, and we are calling OpenAI.chatCompletion.create, and then we are passing in the model, and then the role is the user, and then the content is what we are getting through the function. And then we are defining a function in this block. Okay, and this function, we are passing it through the create method, and we have a name for it, get current weather. And this get current weather is the same as this name up here. So this is our template function. Once we do that, we have a description, and the description says what? Get the current weather in a given location. The parameters, we need the type to be object, and then the properties. The properties is like the argument. Okay, so we have location and then the unit. The location and the unit is what we are passing through the function, the location and then the unit. That is what our function accepts as an argument. Okay, and then we give it a type, it's a string, and then the description is what the city and state. Example is San Francisco, or we can even make it Dallas, Texas. Okay, and then the unit, the type is a string, and then it has enum. That's two options, Celsius or Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit for those in the US, and Celsius for those in Europe and elsewhere. There's also this argument here, required. If location is required and then the unit is required, you pass it as a list. So these two information are required, but in this case, we are only interested in the location. And then the last thing we call in here is the function call, and then it's auto. We can leave it as none as well, but let's put auto here. And once that function executes, it returns a completion object, and then we pass the choices and grab the message, and then we give it to this object reply content, and then we change it to a dict, and then we can grab these values from that dictionary, and we pass that dictionary or that string and load it as a JSON. Okay, so it's going to, this function here is going to return an object like this, location, and then let's say it's even Dallas, Texas. Okay, something like this. Okay, because the required argument we are interested in is the location. So it's going to extract that information from whatever text we pass to the find location. Okay, so that is the idea. So if I go to app, I'm going to paste in the code as well and explain what is going on. So these are flags to create endpoints. So we have render template request, we have utils, we want to get weather and find location, the two the functions, we want to import them, as well as we want to import our key, which I'm going to paste here, and then it's equal to double quote. That is where we are getting the API key from for the open weather API key. Okay, and then we instantiate our Flask app and call it app. Okay, so that is all for that. Now we are going to define our route, which is going to be the main route. Okay, so this is the main route. If you are familiar with Flask, this shouldn't be new. And what we are doing here is that we are defining the home page as the initial route. You can define, let's say, API v1 and say weather. You can define something like this if you want to. And then we are grabbing the form data, which we are calling city. And that city is going to be a sentence, okay? It's just not going to be Dallas, okay? It's just going to be a sentence. So we are grabbing that and passing it through this find location. And then the find location will return something like this. Will return something like this. And then we want to grab the location and split on comma and pick out the Dallas, okay? So that's why we are doing this. We grab the location, split it on comma, and grab the first element, okay? And that will going to give us the city data. And then now we can call the get weather, which is our user defined function. Get weather is the one that is going to hit, get weather is the one that is going to hit the open weather map API, okay? So once we do that, that is also going to return weather data. And then we want to extract the temperature, description, humidity, and then send it to index.html. Okay, so that is what we are doing here. The next thing I want to paste is the app.run. Okay, so I'm going to paste that in. So we have app.run, host is this, and then the port is 1957, debug is equal to true. Okay, so then last thing we want to do is the index.html. Okay, so now I want to build the index.html. So I'm just going to paste the HTML code and explain it. So as you can see, this is just an HTML tag with a head, and then a body, and then there's h1 tag, and this is the form. It's a post, and it points to API v1/weather. And then as you can see, the input is text, and then it's a submit button with a name get weather. And as you can also see, if there are any errors, it displays it on the page. Else, if there is a location, we put h2 tag, which is the location, the temperature, the description, and then the humidity. These are all coming from this variables. Okay, so I'm just going to run this application. So let's run it and see what we get. So we can now click on this link, and okay, let me just copy it and then open the browser. Now, as you can see, this is the browser. I'm going to refresh it. Let me see. Okay, so that is it. So once it's been refreshed, we can now say what's the weather like in Dallas. Okay, so these are questions that you can ask like Google, and Google is able to fetch real-time weather information for you. but this is not Google. So we are using an AI application to do this. You cannot do this if you are just pointing or calling a weather API endpoint. You need to specify the location or the city where the API can fetch the weather information for you. So as you can see, this is just like a query. Okay. What's the weather like in Dallas? So let's run this and see. So you can see now the temperature is 76.48 Fahrenheit. It's scattered clouds, and the humidity is about 85. Let's also check. Tell me the weather in New York. Okay. Once I run this, you see this is the temperature in New York. Few clouds. There's a high humidity, which is about 84. Let's also check what's the weather in Accra. Okay, see the temperature is 79.21 Fahrenheit, few clouds, and 89. Okay, so basically this is how you can use function calling with OpenAI. It's very interesting how it's working. So you can see the 200 status code, meaning that everything was successful. So I'm going to check this code on GitHub and put the link in the description box. If you want to try out this code, yeah, you are free to do so. I actually built this from scratch. Most of the videos that you're going to see online or on YouTube around function calling, it's a bit complicated. They don't explain it like the way I've done. So I think this helps, and I hope you can build a bigger and better application with this idea. I'm in my next video, I'm also going to demonstrate to you how you can use this function calling on I think let me see, on email, how to send emails. So watch out, and I'm going to upload that video as soon as possible. See you in the next one.